Hey, I'm Stern, and this is my guide on repair buses. Before we start, please keep in mind that this is my first try at an educational PlanetSide 2 video, and that English is not my native language. With that out of the way, let's dive into it. Let's start by clearing up potential confusion about what a repair bus actually is. A repair bus is a Sunderer that uses the proximity repair option and as such is able to repair allied vehicles at surprising speeds without the actual need for an engineer to be exposed to enemy fire, or even while on the move. Let's start this section by making clear that you are not a combat vehicle. With this in mind, your loadout comes down to being about self-defense should you be engaged. If you get engaged by a tank, you run or you are dead anyway. So our main worry are infantry and air, that our armor probably has a hard time dealing with. So my preferred loadout is either a Fury and a Walker, or a Kobold and a Walker to defend yourself against the occasional light assault trying to earn a 72 Virgins by blowing himself up alongside his enemies. My reason for this is that the Fury is probably the best all-round option for self-defense in close range, and that the Kobold is probably one of the best weapons in the game for killing infantry. When it comes to AA, there's little competition between the Ranger and the Walker, so the choice being the Walker here is rather obvious. So, fire suppression or gate shield diffuser? This entirely depends on the fight you're in. If you're supporting a couple of blockade buses in an M station, you better make sure you can actually get in there. If you're helping a bunch of tanks, you can be damn sure that they can't go through any vehicle shields, and neither should you. So fire suppression is a very valuable choice, and can save your ass or just repair a bit of your vehicle while still being mobile. Which leads us to our final question in terms of equipment. Racer or rival chassis? While I think that both are viable choices, I find myself maneuvering around friendly vehicles and driving backwards a lot. So my personal preference, and the keyword here is preference, is rival. This comes down to playstyle though, and location. If you are in a very open plain, you might want to consider running racer. So, what are you trying to accomplish while playing a repair bus? Well, two things. A, helping your team, and B, helping yourself. Playing a bus is actually a very lucrative thing, and I see a lot of people doing it because of that. There's nothing wrong with that. However, I'd like to point out that you can still be fucking useless doing that. Let's showcase that with an example. Let's say a Vanguard gets shot and I'm the repair bus. There are two ways for me to handle the situation. Option A is being a greedy bastard and blocking him so he can't back up in order for me to get more repairs. I see this a lot and it makes me furious. Anyway, let's talk about option B and how you should play a bus. There are a couple of things to keep in mind. You always want your allies to be able to retreat. Remember, your job is primarily to keep them alive. So if ever possible, position yourself to their side and slightly behind them so they can still drive backwards. If this is not an option and you're directly behind the tank you're counter-repairing, you better back off when he's trying to back off. Another thing to keep in mind is that a solo tank roaming the flank of the battlefield probably don't want you to follow him if he's running stealth, since you're only giving his position away. Stealth is relatively easy to spot, and if you see this little thing here, you better leave them alone. That is if they aren't in a bigger group, because if you are driving in a tank circle, you're probably spotted. I'd like to conclude the video with a few tips regarding repair buses. You can park a bus in a tower like this to get some repair bonuses on the turrets above and potential vehicles driving by. Other good places to just leave your repair bus are behind vehicle shields, since they are often used by tanks to play peekaboo with the enemy. A crosshair overlay is helping to spot enemies for your allies while driving around in third person, so if you don't use one yet, here is another reason to do so. Recursion comes with a small add-on allowing you to easily get one. The higher level of repair always ends up repairing, so the upgrade to the last level is pretty much mandatory to not get completely useless in terms of third game once there's more than one bus around. If you enjoyed this content, please help me to help you by leaving a like and consider subscribing. If you have any feedback or suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments, I actually read all of them. Until next time, Stern out.